Damn, that Coke Zero hits. Sup everyone, welcome back to this humble channel of mine. Now, if you're familiar with me and my content, you can already tell that this video is a departure from what I normally make. Instead of covering an ARG or unfiction, instead I decided to make tonight's video about sharing my ideas on what Deltarune's 6th chapter could possibly entail for us Delta heads. Before we start, I will promote my Discord server and social medias. Links will be in the description. Without further ado, let us commence ahead onto my totally correct ideas and predictions. To start, Chapter 6 is confirmed to be a shorter chapter, meaning that it will probably be around the same length as Chapter 3. To share my first idea, and overall idea for the chapter, I believe that Chapter 6 will be a parallel to Chapter 3, and not just because of the length. Now let's ponder this. The Chapter 3 Dark World was in the Dreamer house, and its fountain was opened by Chris. Alright, now just hear me out for a sec. I believe that Chapter 6's Dark World will be the Holiday House, and its fountain not opened by Chris nor the Knight, but rather Noelle. Now why do I think Noelle opens the fountain? Well, because I said so. Nah, I'm just joshing you. I have what is hopefully some sound evidence for this. Let's think back to Chapter 2. Near the end of the chapter, as Queen monologues about how Lightners can open Dark Fountain, we see 3 portraits, that being of Chris, Susie, and Noelle. Now at the end of the chapter, Chris opens a fountain, and as we all know, Susie opens the fountain in Chapter 4, although it's not the main one. If we pair the numbers to who opens the fountains, we get 2, 4. Now, what comes next, class? That's right, 6. And who is left? Finger? Nah, son, Noelle. This little scene in Chapter 2 is why I believe Noelle will open the Dark Fountain for Chapter 6. What do you think? I believe that these things could prove a potential parallelism between Chapters 3 and 6. If these are to be true, then let's ponder this. Both Chapter Dark Worlds are created in a house, both from an inhabitant of the house. Now what does that leave out? The themes of nostalgia, stupid! Reliving the old days and experiencing nostalgia are themes that no doubt play a role in Chapter 3, and I think it will also play a strong role in Chapter 6, mainly through what Toby says in the Summer 2026 newsletter. More specifically, the line about the chapter focusing on one aspect of the story. Now what is this one aspect? I personally think that this aspect is the Holiday family as a whole, and what their deal is. I think that the elements of nostalgia for Chapter 6 will definitely be how life was back then, before December disappeared, and before Rudy became sickly. I think we will also learn how the Dreamers and Holidays became good friends, and how Rudy became ill. With Rudy's illness, I think that the chapter will show the day that it happened, or more specifically, the day that he realized, and when he became bequeathed with his illness. The chapter may establish that Rudy has had this illness for longer than we thought of, as it seems to us a more recent thing. Another potential the chapter will offer will finally be a December reveal. So far, all we have is the silhouette from Chapter 3. But knowing that Tricky Fox, for Chapter 6 we will either only see her from behind as a silhouette again, or just hear her off screen, so we could at least get a voice reveal. Only time will tell. I now want to return to the message in the Summer 2026 newsletter. There is a line that I'm sure has been plaguing many of your minds since reading. That being the line of Chapter 6 clarifying something, whether we are ready or not. What could this clarification be? Well, I have 2 ideas. The first is that we will find out about what happens to Rudy, since the last we heard of him was that he fell down. With this, I will say that I strongly believe that Rudy will die, as it would align with this illness of his making him weaker, Asgore's dialogue in the Undertale alarm clock, and the whole term of falling down that originates from Undertale, the term being used to describe monsters who are about to die. This is also tied to the fact that Toby is seemingly describing Chapter 6 as being a more serious chapter. Now, I don't know about you, Joseph, but the idea of Rudy dying seems to be a serious topic. The second thing that I believe could be clarified is what exactly happened to Des. Not only that, but the chapter could reveal to us how and why exactly Des left in the first place. As it currently stands, we don't know how long December has been gone for exactly, but if I had to guess, it could be at minimum a year. Now, quick Chapter 5 Weird Route spoiler. During Noelle's monologue, she says the line, "Since Des left." I feel like this implies that December left on her own accord, and wasn't kidnapped or anything of the sort. Then again, this could also be a coping mechanism of Noelle, but that's a can of Christmas-themed worms that I won't open. If December's departure is explained more in depth, then I think we will definitely get an official December design reveal, and we will see how many people were correct and incorrect about her appearance. Now, before I return to my hidey hole, I'll share one last idea I have about the chapter, that being who I think the main antagonist will be. I think that Carol will be the main antagonist, and I think this mainly since if we return to the newsletter, Chapter 6 won't feature wacky adventures, it will be more straightforward. With this, we can infer that there won't be a Pinhead Pierre bad guy to ruin the lore drops. Now, why Carol? Well, she seemingly has a connection to, or at least knowledge of, the soul. Since she is an avid collector of heart-shaped objects, it even says how we are welcome in her house anytime, which is another one that I feel helps prove that Chapter 6 will take place in the holiday home. With this idea, we can infer that the chapter's bad guy will be a character we know, and one that is written to be more of a stern and literally cold character. And her motivation will more than likely involve the soul. Perhaps she will try to obtain it? Now, if the knight shows up in the chapter, which I think will happen, and if Carol is the main antagonist, then right away that would disprove Carol being the knight, which I do believe, but hey, a boy can dream, can't he? Now let's sum up what I believe Chapter 6 will be. I believe that Chapter 6 will be parallel to Chapter 3. With Chapter 3 focusing on Chris and the Dreamers, Chapter 6 will focus on Noelle and the holidays. I believe that Noelle will open the main dark fountain of the chapter in the holiday home, similar to how Chris opened the Chapter 3 dark world in their home. I think that Chapter 6 will explain more in depth the holiday family, and will also explain how Rudy became ill, how and why Des left, and for how long. Chapter 6 will also reveal to us the first major character death in the series, that being the death of Rudy Holiday. I finally believe that the main antagonist of the chapter will be Carol, due to the chapter's pre-described seriousness and with Carol's connection to the soul/player. So, what do y'all think of my theories/ideas about Chapter 6? Do you agree? Disagree? Couldn't care less? Leave your thoughts and Chapter 6 predictions down below. Until we meet again, my friends, take care, and see y'all later!